Hello everyone and welcome to the F1 corner here after the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix to discuss what happened, the actions and what's gonna happen forward. The race that was won by Max Verstappen, and joining him on the podium were Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris. So it was a pretty exciting race, a lot to talk about. But before we dive into it, please remember to hit the like button and to subscribe so that you do not miss any update regarding any races of this 2021 Formula One season. So, Emilia Romagna Grand Prix in Imola, the stage was set from the beginning for an exciting race. There was some rain at the start and not everywhere on track, so some corners were almost dry while others had a lot of standing waters. We saw some drivers starting with different strategies, especially the two Haas, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, starting on the full wet tire, which actually proved to be a wrong choice. But we'll get to that in a moment when we talk about the Alfa Tauri. So let's start with our winners. Max Verstappen pretty much had a perfect race from the start. Super great start under the rain, going from third to first in the first chicane, turn 2 and 3, clipping a little bit Lewis Hamilton, but did not really affect Max Verstappen himself. Could have affected Hamilton a little bit since the front wing was slightly damaged. But from the moment he was in the lead, Verstappen stayed in the lead for the whole race. Despite safety cars and red flags, it was pretty much very clean on his side. On the other side of the Red Bull garage, disappointing for Sergio Perez. Started off good in 4th place stayed third, but under the first safety car lost a place because he ran wide in one corner, and then later also picking up a 10-second penalty for running wide again and then overtaking the car that had passed him, which is illegal since Perez was actually off track, and it's his own fault if he was overtaken. So he did pick up a 10-second penalty, which in the end did not really affect him. But still, we see him finish in Perez in 12th place, which was mostly caused after the red flag on lap 33 at the restart of the race. Only a few laps later, Perez running wide and spinning, falling right at the back of the pack, and from there, it was pretty much game over for him, with every car passing him and so few laps to go. He was not able to make it back into the point, especially since the pack was also very competitive throughout the whole race. So Perez making way too many mistakes during this race, ran wide quite a few times, picked up that penalty, losing place when he should not. So a lot of work to do on his side, and we hope it will get better because we know how Red Bull operates. You don't get a second chance really. So Perez said it would take 4 or 5 races to really get used to that car, and from what he said, that car is still not to his liking. He's not feeling it as natural as he would want to. So hopefully everything will get better by the Portuguese Grand Prix in 2 weeks. Let's talk about Mercedes. They really scared us. For a moment we thought Lewis Hamilton would maybe only finish 8th or 9th, and that is because just before the red flag, Hamilton ran wide at turn 7 while overtaking a back marker and stayed for quite a while in the gravel, had to pit to change his front wing, and was from that point 1 lap behind Max Verstappen. He was lapped, and lucky for Hamilton. There was a red flag caused by Valtteri Bottas, his teammate, and George Russell, and it allowed Hamilton to get back on the leader's lap. And from there, when the race restarted, he was able to climb back to second place. So really, really lucky for Lewis, but not so lucky for his teammate Valtteri Bottas, who clashed with George Russell in the pit straight while Russell was trying to overtake him. There's not really anyone at fault there. Russell did not have a lot of space to deal with, had enough but not a lot. Accidentally just scratched the grass, which was still wet, and completely lost control of that car as he was side by side with Valtteri. And by losing control that way with so little space to maneuver, he just ran into the Mercedes, and both cars ended up in the gravel. Both drivers placing the blame on each other, but really there's no real blame there. It's an unfortunate accident in unfortunate circumstances, and this brought on the red flag. So Bottas will be very, very disappointed. Him trying to take the fight to Lewis Hamilton. This is a huge blow already early this season, but the season will be a long one, 23 races on the calendar. He's got time to make up for it. Let's talk about Williams, since we were talking about George Russell. So I mentioned it, Russell out of the race on lap 31 because of that crash with Valtteri Bottas, and once again the Williams were fighting for points. George Russell was in 10th place trying to overtake Valtteri for 9th place. Williams was in that position to score a few points this season finally, but yeah, it all ended, like I mentioned, in the gravel trap. So Williams gonna take back the broken pieces, regroup, and come back strong in 2 weeks in Portugal. Nicolas Latifi, teammate of Russell, out on lap 1, simply not able to make this car work, sliding and spinning in the opening lap and causing the first safety car by crashing into the wall after a contact with Nikita Mazepin, which for once was not Mazepin's fault. So yeah, sad for Latifi, but it was pretty much over before it even started. So who benefited from the Williams misfortune? It was the Alfa Romeo, actually. Alfa Romeo, with Kimi Raikkonen finishing in 9th place, equaling their best result of 2020. So Alfa Romeo was at the back pretty much of the Williams throughout the whole weekend. We expected the Alfa Romeo to actually make progress in Imola, when they did not. Instead they fell backward, so it was benefiting Williams up until those accidents. And yeah, lucky for them, Kimi Raikkonen had a great race, was able to climb up to 9th place and secure 2 points for the team. Antonio Giovinazzi finishing 14th, just tough luck. It's not really his fault. He did what he could under the circumstances. He's still a young driver with not much experience in the wet compared to Kimi. So hopefully he can do better in 2 weeks. Let's talk about McLaren finishing 3rd and 4, 5 and 6th with Daniel Ricciardo. Lando Norris on the podium. Great job for the young Briton, and he's there completely on merit, not just because of bad luck of everyone else. So Norris getting another podium in Formula 1, good job, and they really wanted that because McLaren is expected to be fighting with the Ferraris for the Constructors' Championship, so it was really a good one for the team. A bit strange though for Daniel Ricciardo, who could not seem to find the pace at all with that car. He was over 20 seconds behind Lando Norris, and despite both guys having the same car. At some point Ricciardo started in front of Norris, but they swapped position, and Norris just flew in front of Daniel. So the Australian driver is still learning the car, I'm guessing here, but will have to do much better by the end of the season in order to make sure McLaren can secure at least a third place in the championship. Ferrari, very, very, very strong race. They were in contention for a podium for a while. When the race restarted after the red flag, Charles Leclerc was running in second place, but got passed by Lando Norris, who was on the soft tire, so better pace, and obviously by Lewis Hamilton, who ended up in second place at the end of the race. Still, the Ferrari were strong all weekend. It is very good, very welcome result. Same for Carlos Sainz, started 11, and despite making many mistakes, actually both Ferrari drivers made so many mistakes during the rain period. That car looked completely undrivable, but managed to climb up to 5th place thanks to their pace when the track got dry, and also a little bit with the bad luck of everyone else. But Ferrari really making a big step forward this weekend in Imola, showing pretty much what we saw last year, that on slow track, yes, they have what it takes to be up there. Who haven't we talked about yet? AlphaTauri, yes, we mentioned it. Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, two very unlucky drivers. First, let's start with Tsunoda on the opening laps. Just spinning already at the start and getting at the back of the pack, so he was starting on the back foot right from the start, and then again made quite a few mistakes throughout the whole race. In the end, Yuki finishing only in 13th place, sad for him. Pierre Gasly, for a moment, looked like he would never finish in the point. Started on the full wet tires, which was obviously not a good choice, stayed very long on them, and by the time he pit, he had fallen from 5th to like 13 or 15, I don't remember, but was really far back, did the extra pit stop to fit in the intermediate, and lucky for him, those safety cars and especially the red flag, which allowed him to change tires basically for free and climb back up the pack when others had already pitted. So in the end, Pierre Gasly saving his face a little bit, finishing in I don't have it on my cards. I think did he finish 8th? I think Gasly finished in 8th place, behind or 7th. Who do I have here? Stroll, Ricardo, Stroll. Yeah, Gasly in 8th place. Sorry guys for that. I completely forgot to write him on my little notes here. But yeah, say at least getting a few points on what should have been a pretty good weekend for AlphaTauri normally. Who else do we have? Aston Martin, Vettel and Stroll. Good job for Stroll, 7th, and Sebastian Vettel sadly had to retire before the end of the race, but it could have been a lot worse. For a moment we thought maybe they would not even take the start. Before even leaving the pit lane before the race, Lance Stroll brakes were on fire on that car, and Sebastian Vettel's brakes were fuming. You could smell it on the pit lane. So they had to change everything. Vettel had to start from the pit lane because the work was not done in time. Stroll, they were able to do the job, was able to manage that car and finish 7th, starting in 10th place. But yeah, it's tough to say. It seems like this Aston Martin car is really not the one we saw last year as Racing Point. Trouble fighting with everyone. Stroll was pretty much getting passed by any front team, the McLaren, the Ferrari, and even had trouble fighting with Gasly. So even though they have speed, they don't seem to have the aero package to really do something conclusive during a race weekend, which is very sad since they were in fight for third last year. At the moment, they will be lucky if they finish fifth. And finally, quick word on Alpine Renault. Esteban Ocon getting the last point in 10th place was also lucky. If not for the misfortunes of other drivers, he would not be there. Fernando Alonso taking 11, right behind him. Does not seem to be a glorious year for Alpine either. That car, which was so strong last season, seemed to be nowhere this year. At the moment, it looks like any points that they will get will be fought very, very hard, and they might have to rely on luck for that matter. And if I have to pronounce myself, I'd say Alpine is probably the seventh team on the grid this year. So only in front of the Alfa Romeo and those other guys. I think Alpine is worse than Aston Martin by not much, but definitely not great for this year. So we're going to Portugal in 2 weeks, and what's going to happen from there? Well, Lewis Hamilton is still leading the Drivers' Championship. Mercedes is still leading the Constructors' Championship. But as we go into Portugal, really Red Bull will try to shine once again. They really seem to be the faster car so far this season. In colder condition, it seems like Hamilton might have the advantage, the Mercedes. But depending on the weather and everything that might be going on, I think we are still in for another great fight. So we'll have to see. And until then, I thank you everyone for watching this recap of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Please hit the like button if you've enjoyed this, and simply to encourage content on this channel, subscribe so that you do not miss any update regarding the 2021 Formula 1 season. And I will see you again pretty soon, surely before the Portuguese Grand Prix, with news, updates, and everything that you would like to know about Formula 1. Thank you everyone, and see you next time.